Hi guys, today is the 13th of October 2019 at 41 minutes past 10 in the morning over here in the UK, and this video is a bit hard to make because I'm just seeing a lot of things in the last couple of months that's potentially coming up, so I'm just going to point out very quickly and hopefully succinctly what I see. So I've got two towers over here. They're giving us a reference to the Twin Towers, so 9/11 second reference, but I think this is a nuclear power plant. I think the whole scene is a reference to the border around Texas where we have the kids in cages. At least that was what was reported in the news. So this nuclear power plant, I reference to the Rio Grande. I think at some point in the future, probably in the near future, considering there's not many months left in the year, there's going to be a meltdown at that plant, which is going to affect the power in the area, which is why we got emergency lighting up here. During that time, I think people may take action themselves. These will be um, probably militias using dogs and guns to patrol the border, probably in association with Donald Trump's um, immigration rhetoric. I don't know exactly when that all may occur, but I've got reference to the two towers being the nuclear plant, also representing the number 11 down here, the number 11, two marks here, the number 11, and the two for the iPet Goat 2 could also represent the number 11. And then the T could represent a 7, 11, 7, or 711, which is a reference that we've talked about quite a lot. So November the 7th is a potential date for that to happen. But we've also got a potential 3 down here. So it could be November the 3rd. Not entirely sure. The dog's legs themselves make an 11 and a 1 or a possible 7. So again, November the 1st or November the 7th. November the 7th is getting a lot more traction. The 666 barcode, which is also the mark of the beast as we know, or at least the number of the man, is also 999 upside down, which is the UK emergency number. So I believe the UK is associated with this in some way. Could be to do with Brexit. And 999 added together is 27, which is 11/7 if you break the two down into two ones. And again, that could be a reference to November the 7th. So that's the opening scene. Possible connections with the UK, but also this scene has connections with Texas and the border and possible nuclear power plant meltdown causing blackout. So emergency lighting has to be used. Moving on. Again, George Bush is from Texas, but when the 9/11 attacks happened, he was in Florida in elementary school. So again, that gives us a reference to 9/11. This being interpretation for the second 9/11. Now he's tap dancing away, and while he's tap dancing, his hand showed 10, 10, and then 7, which gives us a reference to 27 again potentially, which could be broken down again into 11/7, which is November the 7th. He's dancing in the middle of a star, which has all sorts of satanic references, but is also a reference to starlight, which is another suggestion for the power being out. We're currently in the darkness, and the only thing illuminating the scene is starlight. So, Texas man, starlight, blackout, again, seems to be connected to that specific area. But then we've also got a connection to Florida as well. So it's possible that we're looking at a wider scale of blackout in potentially at least two states. Although again, we've got the entire map of the United States over here, which again is encompassed by the darkness, and we've got the snowflakes signifying winter time. We're coming into that time now. November would certainly be in that time frame, and we're already seeing snow falling in the United States, in North Dakota, and in those type of areas, heavier snowfall than should be there at this time. So it's possible cold fronts could come down from Canada, causing snow to fall in a lot more of the United States earlier than it normally would. Let's keep going. I'm trying not to make this video long, but it'll be as long as I need it to be. On the hair here, we have 2 marks and number 5. So again, possible reference to November 5th. November 5th in the UK is fireworks night, which I believe connects with the skeleton fireworks scene, which I'll see if I can get on it. Too far. So back a bit. So in this scene here, we've got the fireworks exploding in the background, 5 of them, which gives us a possible reference to fireworks night, which is November 5th. We've looked at this date before for the last 2 years for the obvious reason of the fireworks, but obviously we had the wrong year. Could be this year. The year of the pig is over here, dotted out in the firework. I can just only use my finger to kind of highlight where the outline of the face is. Up here you get to the ears, and in the middle here you've got the eyes. The 2 dots that are open here are the nostrils. That open mark here gives you the definition for the snout, and then you've got the mouth here kind of smiling. So a year of the pig fireworks reference. Now, considering the year of the pig is a Chinese reference, it could be looking at the Chinese New Year, which would be in February of 2020. I don't want to and don't intend to look past January the 2nd, but it's just something to bear in mind for anyone who does intend to keep looking past that date, that the Chinese New Year occurs in February of 2020, which could be a signifier for the last day of the year of the pig. But look how many things that are already happening within this year of the greedy pig. Everything is on edge and things are quickly spiraling downwards. So I would suspect that the year of the pig reference is referring to the year of 2019. On the eyebrow here, we've got possible 2, possible 5, depending on which way you look at it. 2 could be broken down into 2 1s, and then you've got 5, 11, 5. Again, could be 2 and 7, 11, 7. There's many different ways to look at this, but possible references to November the 5th, November the 7th. Also the L, the 2 and the 5, December 25th. So many different ways, which is why I'm just trying to point out many of the ways. Also a 1 and a 5 or a 1 and a 2. Let's move on, because there's many ways of interpreting that. The missile up here is a 3-stage ICBM, and I think that connects to North Korea. I think they'll be launching one. The date I think that will happen is on LT, which is upside down 3, upside down L, upside down T, upside down 3, L number 12, T number 23. That's 12/23, December 23rd. That's a possible date for the launch of a 3-stage ICBM with North Korea perfecting re-entry. Could be an ICBM from someone else though, but considering North Korea is moving towards that achievement, they may achieve it around that time this year. It's also a penis, obviously, urinating. We have the word cult made up in there as well, with the C, the U, upside down L, upside down T, a urination cult connected to a president or presidents. Maybe we'll find out on the same date, LT3, or maybe sooner. Just keep your eyes out for it in this year. I then believe after the 3-stage ICBM on December 23rd, we'll have a nuclear launch on New Year's Day. I'm going to try and get onto the house without the head blocking it. Stop. That'll be good enough. Behind George Bush's head, as most of you will know, there's a flame which looks like the number 3 up here, or number 1, so there's possible reference to 31. And then the flame here makes an N and a Y, reference to New York, but also reference to New Year. So 31st of December, New Year's Day, nuclear launch, possibly to New York, possibly to Manhattan. Maybe it's not a nuclear launch, maybe it's just a bomb that explodes in that area. We know Obama has talked about a bomb going off in Manhattan and him being worried about that. That could be a signifier for something like that happening in the future. Excuse me. The point in this video I wanted to talk about is when it changes to Obama. On his cheek, he's got the rosy cheek with a little object coming towards. If we put in negative colors, you can see that this is an eclipse, and I believe it's an eclipse of the sun, and that eclipse is illuminating something coming from behind the sun, which I think may impact the Earth on January the 2nd. Now, when I say I think it may impact the Earth, I mean I think it will look like it will impact the Earth. You know, holographic technology, Blue Beam Project, a couple of nuclear weapons, and you can make it look like something has come from up there to the Earth and created chaos. So bear that in mind, an eclipse with something coming from behind it, which will later have impacts on the Earth. I say impacts with air quotes. I believe that also connects to the end scene. I believe this, in negative colors, you can see a bit more clearly, is an eclipse. And behind that eclipse, we get meteorites coming from behind it, as you can see just there. And I believe that again is giving us a connection to something coming from behind the sun during an eclipse. Now the Heliofont title is an anagram for the final. If you take out the eclipse itself, the O in this Heliofont word is acting as an eclipse. So if you remove that and you're left with Helifont, rearrange those letters and you'll have 2 words, the final, bring the eclipse back in, and it's the final eclipse. Now if it's a reference to this year, which is the year of the pig, then the final eclipse to occur will be on December the 26th, which is an annular solar eclipse. So on that date, it may be that we see something coming towards the Earth, and a week later we have impact. I'm gonna put it back in normal colors. So I say that because this scene here possibly gives us a reference to that date, which is 012. So December 26th, the eclipse occurs, people see something coming from behind it, and then a week later we have impact on January the 2nd, where we have this massive tsunami as a result, taller than skyscrapers, and as we can see here, skyscraper being bent backwards, the wave is still above it, and devastation ensues. So with that in mind, I'll go back to the classroom scene and the apple rolling across the ground. Again, we've got an eclipse type scenario happening over here, and we have the tsunami. Now all of this is multi-layered because I've also been thinking about the Italy reference and the Mount Etna Stromboli eruption collapse tsunami reference in that area, the Mediterranean. But I also think that Italy is going to be connected with the backlash on the Obama administration that I talked about in a previous video. At the moment, Bill Barr is over there And something is going on with the Italians and Bill Barr, and therefore, obviously, the Trump administration, which is looking into all the stuff that happened in 2016 and how those investigations started and whether spying occurred and all those kind of stuff. And it seems to me that there may be a rather elaborate entrapment scheme that took place in order to capture Donald Trump. But Donald Trump himself isn't innocent because he did commit a lot of crimes. So, but you don't, two wrongs don't make a right. You don't capture a criminal by committing crimes yourself. So I believe that may have some connections with what's going on, Bill Barr, Italy. But that's all a side piece. But I think that's connected in here as well because we have the fool me once, the shame on reference, and I think that's all coming. The urination cult in connection with probably Donald Trump because there's rumors about that, and then the backlash in terms of spying and creating some sort of elaborate entrapment scheme on the Obama administration. You know, keep an eye out for that. Again, we may have a reference to January the 2nd here. 012. January the 2nd, tsunami. Again, the eclipse reference. 7, that could be 7 days later, but again, we've got the L, which could be a reference to 12 being in December. So a lot of multi-layered, convoluted codes and signs that may point to that same date and time reference. If I go back a little bit in this video, in this scene here, I can again see an interpretation for around December 25th, 26th, and January the 2nd. I pointed out before how this negative space makes up the front silhouette of a reindeer, the leaf making the ear, and the X being just where the nose would be, actually makes up a reindeer like Rudolph, and that gives me a reference to December 25th. And then we've got the eye here with the ring of light around it, which gives us a reference to the eclipse. So December 25th and then December 26th, the annular solar eclipse. And then a week later, where I think we have the tsunami generated by something impacting the ocean, as you can see with this little dot and thing here. Whoops. Excuse me. It's harder to do this on my phone, but the sound is better. So little dot here, tsunami generated, little dot here behind the ring of light, which is signifier of the eclipse again. So something coming from behind the sun during the eclipse, and then that something impacting the ocean, generating a tsunami. And over here, where I pointed out this could be 1, 1 and a backwards 7, or it could be 1 and 5, or it could just be 5 by itself. That could be a reference to many different things. 1, 1, backwards 7, possibly being 11, 7, which again, we see in the beginning of the video. But it's also an upside down J with 2 marks just here, which again could be a reference to January the 2nd. And then the color lily, as we know, represents death. The other interpretation for January the 2nd I got from the Game of Thrones final season, which is on my channel, and possible dates from that I took are December 23rd and January the 2nd. So January the 2nd, definitely watching out for that mega tsunami generated by what would look like something impacting the ocean, which would potentially be seen 7 days before during the annular solar eclipse. On the back wall, we have another reference to LT3 I pointed out before, which is the leaf here just making an upside down L, the 2 leaves, the vine and the leaf making an upside down T, and the 1, 2, 3 reference 1223, as well as this character being the 8th and 9th character if you include Lily. 9 on the Roman calendar, November, 2 marks above the head, November 2nd, or November the 11th. I think that is mainly what I wanted to point out to you guys. Obviously, I pointed out before the 31 reference up here. I still think Honor 31 can only be this month or December now, where Iran comes forward, Pakistan also represented in here with Osama bin Laden. There's lots of stuff going on in Syria at the moment, so we have connections with all of that. But they're obviously on an iceberg which is shaped like an aircraft carrier, and I think that has connections with the USS Carl Vinson, which Osama bin Laden was thrown into the sea from. We've also got the USS Abraham Lincoln in the area, so I think those two aircraft carriers will be targeted. 31st of October is a potential date for things to kick off with Iran. That would obviously be the same day as Brexit, so keep an eye out for that. I'm gonna stop there because there's a lot left in here. The 5 missiles, I still feel like gives us a reference to 5 of some kind, whether that's 5 by itself or including the 1 missile that sets off the 5, being 15. October 15th, keep an eye out. Again, another potential reference to October the 15th is from the chart over here, where O is the 15th letter of the alphabet, and it's tilted, so could be an earthquake, O15, but then bear in mind that O is also in the 11th place on this chart because you can't see A, B, C, or D. So 11:15, November the 15th, another possible reference. So for now, those are all the dates that I'm pointing out between now and January the 2nd. Right now, there's a lot going on in the news and stuff, and all the events that we're looking out for. But obviously, the major event overriding them all would be an object coming from above to the earth, generating a tsunami like that. And obviously, if it's faked, it still kind of doesn't matter in terms of the effect it would generate, which would be the earthquakes, the tsunami. Those would be real enough. Whether the image of an asteroid or, celestial body impacting the ocean was real or not, obviously, as I said, the effects would be. So that's something to watch out for. And obviously, if it's connected to the end of this video where this guy is coming out, then I think that's a really important time to be paying attention. Signifier of the church during this whole image suggests that the potential impact would be in the Atlantic, which would again come back to this scene here, where we have the Big Apple representing New York, the pound coin, England. Both countries straddle the Atlantic Ocean, so this large object that could be seen during the eclipse on December 26th could actually impact the Atlantic Ocean 7 days later. Well, that's what it could be made to look like. You guys, thanks for sticking with me. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.